There we are. Get him up here. You remember that movie, Crocodile Dundee? The guy says, "There's a perch." Well, Crocodile reaches in here. He says, "No, there's a perch." Hello, everybody. I'm Tony Dean. Perch like that, a reality. Because we're on one of the best perch fishing lakes in the world, arguably the best. We're on North Dakota's Devil's Lake. Look, I'll tell you, if you haven't been down, let's just assume for a moment you visited Devil's Lake about 6, 7 years ago, and you came today, you absolutely wouldn't recognize it. This area has received an incredible amount of runoff over the last 7 or 8 years. The lake now covers about 110,000 acres, and by now it might even cover more. And the end result is the perch have exploded, the northern pike have exploded, walleyes have exploded, but it's the yellow perch that bring people to Devil's Lake in the winter months. We're at one of the best times of the year to fish through the ice. You know, there's two great times. There's first ice and there's late ice. We're out here in late ice. It's mid-March. I'm going to guess, according to some of the guys in the Perch Patrol, who you'll meet a little bit later, they tell me they've got about 2 weeks left. And like I said at the outset, we've got a cast of thousands today, including maybe the best ice fisherman that ever cut a hole through the ice, my good friend Dave Genz. And you'll meet them all, and we'll fill you in on how you can cash in on probably the best perch fishing on the continent. I'll get back down there and see if I can find another one.
Dave Genz, the modern-day ice fishing pioneer, arrived that morning. Boy, it sure didn't take Dave long to get on the fish. But why not? Dave is generally recognized as one of the best ice fishermen ever.
The guy can catch fish in a bathtub. This feels like a little better fish. Oh, it is a little better. Look at those fish. And they're just gorgeous, gorgeous fish. You know, the best advice I think I can give anybody coming to Devil's Lake is it's a big lake. And if you're a reasonably good winter fisherman, you aren't going to have any trouble finding fish. But the real key is you've got to move around. And one of the first things I do is check at local bait shops. Woodland Resort's a good source of information. A lot of guides working out of there, and they keep on top of the fish. And certainly, if you've got limited time, I'd recommend hiring one of the guys from the Perch Patrol.
No. The captain of the group is Steve Zippy Dahl, Legacie of Edmore, North Dakota. Dave Throndson of Doyen, North Dakota. Wonder how they always seem to be on fish.
A lot of hole drilling, a lot of
miles.
A lot of miles. You wouldn't want to own one of our vehicles after we're through with them. But we enjoy hunting fish, and of course we've got a lot of friends that help us too, that are always giving us tips, and we follow rumors. Anything it takes to find fish.
Coming out on this lake, if we'd forget our FL8s at home, we might as well go around, turn around, go right back home again, because we're lost without them. We've seen guys out drilling without them and move off the spot. We come in through, drill in, and they were on fish. They just didn't know it. We tried different methods, presentation to them, and we'd find out what would trigger them. And when you're out drilling and moving, you got to know where them fish are at, and if you drill on them and you don't see them and they don't hit, you're going to drive away from them. So the FL8s, they're 90% of our fish finding out here.
To us guys, I'd say a 2-pounder is a trophy fish. You know, we catch a lot of 1 3/4 and 1 1/2-ers. You know, that flabbergasts most people from other states, and you know, generally they average around 1 pound here at Devil's Lake, and you know, even the Whopper Club, to make a Whopper Club in North Dakota with a perch, it's got to be a 2-pound fish. Or anywhere else on any other lakes in North Dakota, it's got to be 1 3/4. So we've even got our own criteria to make that Whopper Club.
Boy, there's a lot of fish down there. My Vexillar is just lit up. Trick now is to get back down there as quick as I can. Dave Genz, amazing. Wow. Come on, hit it.
I think he's snoozing it.
Came up, looked at it, and dropped back down. That time he didn't. That's a nice fish. Solid 3/4 of a pound. Look at how chunky they are. And just beautiful fish. And I've never eaten better perch than these perch out of this lake. And you hear people talk about how good walleyes are. Tell you how I rate fish. Perch right up at the top. Bluegills just a notch below them, but not much. Then a little drop to northern pike, and then way down there, those bland tasting walleyes, you know, that you got to do all kinds of things with to give them flavor.
Welcome back to Devil's Lake in eastern North Dakota, a lake that has swelled to more than 120,000 acres over the last decade, and a lake with a booming population of big jumbo yellow perch. But even on a great fishery like this, it's important to stay mobile. If the bite slows, if you're not seeing fish on your sonar, you got to move and keep on moving till you find them. My guests include Dick Horner and the legendary Dave Genz, the ice fishing pioneer whose ideas on shelters, sonar, and mobility have revolutionized winter fishing. When Dave began, he wondered why winter fishermen would limit themselves to one spot on a lake, and there they'd spend the entire winter. Dave reasoned if we move around to find fish during the summer, why not adapt the same principles to winter fishing?
We're finding most of our perch in anywhere from 28 to 44 feet. This lake is basically a big mud flat, and there is some structure, but finding those perch is a matter of drilling the right hole.
Though we're on a good bite today, I don't want to leave the impression it's always like this. There are days on Devil's Lake when it's difficult to trigger fish, even when you're over a big school.
As you noticed today, it was really a soft bite. So we go down to like the Genz worm with about 4 spikes on it. And when you mark them on the bottom, you bring it up just a hair. If they follow you, hold, they'll come up. And if you see the end of your rod just barely move, you set the hook and you should have them. You'll miss a lot of sets, but for presentation, you want a slow presentation on the perch. You don't want anything aggressive when they're on a soft bite like this. If they get aggressive and you get on a good school, it doesn't matter what you throw at them. They're going to come up and set the hook on themselves.
5 or 6 years ago, I wrote an article for Dakota Outdoor Magazine on fishing towns. Let's see, there was Pierre, South Dakota, there was Garrison, North Dakota, there was Mobridge, South Dakota. Another fishing town I wrote quite extensively about back then is Devil's Lake. And in my view, to call themselves a fishing town, they have to have more than great fishing. They have to have a community that welcomes fishermen. Devil's Lake sure fills the bill.
I want to welcome you back to Devil's Lake, North Dakota, where the perch fishing may be the best available. You're going to see a lot of sonars if you fish Devil's Lake, but there aren't many places where you're going to see them dash mounted, as you see on Perch Patrol guide Jim Legacie's dash at his pickup. Yet everything else aside, there just aren't many places where you're going to catch perch that'll run much larger.
Get him up here. Well, he's not as big as I thought he was, but he's pretty darn decent. Best advice I can give you if you go to Devil's Lake, particularly if you're on a limited time schedule, is to get a hold of the Perch Patrol. I'm Tony Dean. Thanks for being with us.